everybody. So, and I mean, talking about it out loud, I probably had a touch of postpartum. For real, for real. For real, for real. Like that whole setup, that whole situation, like I said, that whole period, not even just that moment, that whole period with just being settled at that duration spot that we're at. The enemy worked overtime.
Killing the silence in the black community. Killing the silence. Killing the silence. Killing the silence
my mental.
in the black community.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Ashley Cooper with Killing the Silence in the Black Community, your CEO, your founder. I know it's been a while, but I am back and I am doing a series on navigating identity. And who better to start than me? I am the guest. Okay, the interviewer is interviewing her to but anyway. For those who know me and for those who are joining my channel, Killing the Silence in the Black Community is a nonprofit and an organization who educate the Black community, the Black and Brown community, on the disparity and reaching out for help, the importance of embarking on the unfamiliar of receiving help, and heavy highlighting suicide. Like I say, if you've been rocking with me, then you know that in October of 2015, suicide hit my family. My family. I had a family member who died by suicide. I had other family members who attempted suicide. I had family members who had suicidal ideation. So I made it my mission to educate the Black community on just providing language on how to process, because my motto is, and I read in this book, it's called Real Talk. If you can name it, you can tame it, and that's my job. So no matter how often I have to start over, how I have to do it, I'm going to figure it out. And the beautiful thing is you guys are here to watch my journey. So like I've always said, one of my things is I've always, not always, so let me take that back. For the last year or so, or since the pandemic, so about 2020, 2019 is when I pretty much had a shift. Me personally, and just navigating my identity. Just, I guess we can start off just as a child and then we'll work our way up. I won't do a long drawing out, but you know, y'all just come along with me, okay? So as a child, I've always been very outspoken. I've always been bullheaded. I've always been a confident person as people would perceive me. I've always been the individual who, if nobody else will do it, I'll step up because, you know, I'm so blunt. But I mean, deep down inside, y'all, I was scared. Like, even though I would be that individual who would say it, but unknowingly as a child, I mean, I didn't know it was wrong if I said it until I said it, and then somebody was like, ooh, and I was like, damn, I probably ain't supposed to say that type of thing. And I've pretty much been like that all my life. But I also want to confess that the individual that y'all see, that y'all deem is just so much confidence, and Ashley just is so fearless, baby, I am very scared, don't know what I'm doing, but God has just given me this bold personality, and I can't put a capsule on it, and I just believe in the importance of being you. But just kind of like moving along, I guess when it comes to identity, I've never really thought much about it until, honestly, I became a parent. And I could not separate roles and titles from who I was as a person, rather. So I became pregnant at 19 years old. And if anybody ever listened to Shawana podcast, we kind of dive in that of being a mother and also trying to just kind of navigate me with being a businesswoman and just life in general. So I became pregnant at 19 years old, baby. I was with my kid's father in high school, went off to college, and yes, confession time, mommy. I spent more time home riding and being nasty than being in school. So I always joke like, dang, I came all the way home to my turn, daddy, and I could have had a football player, a basketball. Anybody was, but anyways, besides all that, I got pregnant at 19 and I had my son at 20 years old. And granted, at that time, when you in love and you're with this individual, you do what you do, but you know, you don't really expect to get pregnant, but you absolutely know what comes behind that. But to actually find out that I conceived a baby, I was embarrassed. I definitely felt like what I had planned, the little that I created in my head as far as a future, was definitely at that moment impossible. The enemy told me that, you know, you're repeating the same generational pattern, because a little background, my mom also got pregnant when she was in college with my oldest brother and came home. So the enemy whispered in my ears like, you know, look at here, you're repeating the same pattern. And I came home and my mama told me that she won't be able to keep my son, but she can help me out as much as possible. But I grew up in a single parent household, so if I don't know nothing else, Kim Cooper teaching me how to clean, and she modeled. She was a stellar, you hear me, a stellar at being and exemplifying what a parent is and how sacrifice is the key. You know what I mean? So that whole idea of stepping in that role was scary, but I was just like, it was an automatic for me. So I was like, no, I'm gonna stay home and do what I need to do, because I was working at Marshall, so I never lost my job at that time, or rather quit my job. So I would come home a little and work, and then I ain't been making nothing on no jig, but anyways, I would come home and work. So I finished a year. I did a year and a half in school until I couldn't go anymore. I was at South Carolina State, and then came back home to have my baby, and I continued to work. And God connected me. I was working with some older ladies, because I did morning shift, and I was working with some older ladies. And this one lady, because I was like, listen, I just had this epiphany, was like standing in the fitting room, big, could barely breathe, huffing and puffing. And I was just like, you know, Lord, I refuse to be a statistic. Like, I refuse to be a statistic. Like, this is not the end for me. So like I stated, I worked with older ladies. So I had one lady who was attending Limestone University, and she just gave me the information. And I also had an old principal, was like, Ashley, I don't know how I ran into her, and she was like, if you went to school for psychology, I think you should switch for social worker. So that's what I did. I switched for social worker, applied, and I was going to school at night and working during the day. And at this point, like, even though I went back to school, the enemy still told me that, Ashley, what you doing this for? What is you doing this for? And at that point, like I stated, I didn't know the difference between identity and role, and I was strictly operating in a role. At that time, I was a mother, because I've already given birth, and all I knew was I was a mother, and all I was exposed to is sacrifice. that I no longer had time for me. Who was Ashley? What? Girl, just erase that. Like, you'll figure out who you are when you become an adult type of thing. Because that is what my mind internalized when it came to seeing my mama exemplify making sacrifices and working. Because there were times, if you wanted me to be honest, that I would only see my mom if I woke up in the middle of the night, because she worked like 3 jobs. Working. Let me tell you, baby got good work ethic, and she definitely passed it down to her children. So all I knew that my road was to be a mother, sacrifice and time or self-care. I don't know what that was. And another thing was, for the fact that I did not want to be a statistic, earning my degree at that time wasn't about me. It was more so proving to people that, oh yeah, I had a baby, but I'm gonna still get this degree. I'm gonna still do what I need to do. And I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. So I graduated. I got my bachelor's degree. I got me a job working at the Department of Social Service as an investigative worker as we move along in the story. And anybody know like how they call the baby snatchers? Which one, let me clear that out. We don't snatch no baby. You get baby away. Okay. But anyways, you don't snatch no baby. It gotta be a judge or a police. But being at DSS ran me through an array of emotions, baby. An array of emotions. And then while I was there, well, prior to DSS, I was working at a daycare, and I got pregnant with my second son. So at this point, my responsibilities as far as being a parent hyphen some more. So my role was just sacrifice. And granted, I was in and I can take accountability for this now, because me and my kid's father aren't together. But I was so caught up in being connected to a role that I did not know how to be a partner. And like I said, looking back now, for the fact that I'm out of that situation, I can take full accountability that I did not know how to be a partner. And I don't even blame it for the fact that, and it could be too, I mean, if we want to be honest, just speaking it out loud, it could be due to the fact that what I saw in my household is that, no, your kids come first. Whatever you do, you need to ensure that your kids are straight. And granted, I am like this, but I also understand the importance of being a partner whenever God sends me that person now. So moving right along. It was and me and my kids, for the first, like, it's a real official split in like 2019, when I got in the house that I'm currently in now. But I think it was like March, and don't quote me, y'all, March of 2020, he got hit right before the pandemic. I don't know, but I think it was in 2020. He got hit, and I allowed him to move back in my house as I cared for him. So that's kind of how we got connected again, in a sense, but they ain't last long. They ain't last. Nevertheless, we got 3 kids total. That's all y'all need to know. We got 3 kids total. But I was still, and I've yet, as far as when it comes to a parent, just operating as a mother and operating in roles. And I fed off of the title of having my bachelor's in social work degree, being an investigator of the Department of Social Services. I just lived for whatever my title or my role was. And if somebody at that point had asked me who I was, I could not identify. I did not know who Ashley was. I couldn't tell you anything about Ashley because I suppressed that individual. I did not even allow that individual to manifest in any way, because it was more so you weren't important at this time. You have so much other people to care for. I guess in a sense, people pleasing. absolutely was, yeah, what I was doing. And I think that's something that's not talked about, because my first son, I was depressed. Very depressed. And I know initially I made a video when I talked about my schooling, and I was like, I don't like to identify with that, but there's different levels when it comes to depression, and I was most definitely, my first son, depressed. Because at that moment, like I said, I felt so embarrassed. I felt so ashamed. I felt like a failure. I was just like, I'm gonna be living right here in the country all my life. And granted, I'm not saying that you can't excel in your hometown, but that was just my thought process at that time. Like, I ain't gonna be nothing. I mean, I'm gonna be a statistic. This is how it's gonna be. And then my second son, I was most definitely homicidal, y'all. And let me touch on that for a little, just talking about that. And y'all was like, because everybody got a little killing. Okay. But my second son, if you want me to get personal with you, I dealt with some infidelity in my relationship, and I stayed because I also identify after you're out of a situation to where I did not know my self-worth. I yearned to have a family, so I was willing to accept and take anything. I did not want to move back home. You know, like, I don't know about y'all, but once y'all move out y'all mama house, you ain't trying to move back home. I ain't no failure. So I did not want to move back home. So I settled for a situation that was uncomfortable after learning. And I learned this while I was pregnant. Not before I got pregnant. While I was pregnant, you know, found out some information regarding infidelity. But I stayed. Like I stated, I stayed. It was a choice that I made to stay. And mentally, it broke me down. And at that period, I'm not even gonna lie, I fell into another depression. I did. I fell into another depression, unknowingly, but I was functional, very much functional, because in the Black community, you know, we're taught to suppress what we feel. That's why I say you gotta name it to tame it. And I am an example, a walking example, that God is going to use me and my mouthpiece to help others to name it, to tame it. And that also, even though we're raised on a strong faith foundation, that praying is beautiful. It is the communication, the connection to the Lord. But also, God has equipped people to allow and to help you navigate when it comes to processing what you also have left on the altar. So that's why I'm here. So, and I always say, you can't pray without processing. So at that time, I fell into another depression, and I kind of fell into a depression too, because I felt stuck. If you want me to be honest with you, I felt stuck. And it was more so because after the fact, even though I was like, okay, I'll suck it up, I'll try to suppress it. You know, you have so much thoughts and things running through your head. I blamed me for so much things. My self-esteem, like I said, was at a point where I felt depleted. Baby, you couldn't tell me. And then as mothers, and that's why, ladies, and even men, whoever listen to this, when your woman, whether y'all stay together or not, being pregnant or pregnancy is just such a fragile thing when it comes to a woman mentally, physically, like not feeling like yourself. I mean, not having the body that you used to have. I mean, the recovery journey. So after I gave birth to my second son, we came home from the hospital. And when we came home from the hospital, it was during a storm. I want to say Matthew storm. And I'm just totally being transparent, not stepping on nobody's feet or anything, but just talking my truth. So when we came home after I gave birth to my son, y'all, there were people in the house that we lived that partied that whole time. And I just had a newborn, and I was also in take accountability and was emotional because my family went to, I believe, North Carolina at that time. And I wanted to leave because I was like, I just had a baby. I need my mama. I need my mom. And I just wanted to leave and be with my mama and leave out of town with them. But I couldn't. My mom was like, Ash, you just had a baby. Stay home. You know, do what you need to do. But when I told you the enemy worked overtime to steal or let's say that, try and attempt to steal my mental, y'all. I'm talking about steal my mental. Steal my mental. Y'all, if I could put, and let me grab, because we got to name it to team it. So let me grab my emotional wheel. I'll be right back. So this is my emotional wheel. And we're going to look at sad. So during that time, I felt so lonely. I just gave birth. I felt isolated. I felt abandoned. And this is a conversation, and a conversation we can have again. Because like I said, I don't definitely want nobody to feel like a villain. But I definitely am at a place in my life where I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to stand 10 toes down on it because this is my truth. I definitely felt abandoned. I was so fragile, not only physically, but mentally, because I just gave birth. And I was just operating like solely by myself. I was breastfeeding. There was just so much noise around me. Yo, it was, yeah. But it was definitely God. And I was like, in the moment of that homicide, it was like I was homicide. I can picture myself. I was standing at the stove, I think, making pancakes. And I was just, there was people like, hey, can you make this? Or hey, can you do that? Blah, 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 blah. And at that moment, I don't know if you ever see movies where like so much things is going on around you. But my mind, I ain't gonna lie, at that time, my mind, I had a little split second where my mind had told me, and this is being so transparent, to murder everybody in the house. Everybody. So, and I mean, talking about it out loud, I probably had a touch of postpartum. For real. Like that whole setup, that whole situation, like I said, that whole period, not even just that moment, that whole period was just being settled at that duration spot that we're at. The enemy worked overtime. To steal my mental. I'm telling you. And that's why it's important to have a connection with God. And I thank God all the time that I was raised on such a strong faith foundation. I thank him for the praying people that I have around me, because at that time I didn't know who I was or whose I was. So what the enemy was telling me, I was believing. I had no words of encouragement. I felt unsupported. And like I said, whenever you're in because like I said, one of my things was lonely, which is connected to feeling isolated at that period. he's able to work overtime. And it's also important too, because I've learned that there's no power in being the strong individual. And I do not desire, the older I get, to be the strong friend. I do not desire to be the individual who only does the pouring but never get poured back into. I no longer desire that. I understand the importance of me. I understand that if I am not a healthy me, I cannot be healthy for my environment. So moving right along, when in 2019, before I moved in my place, like I said, after that situation, maybe not too long after, I ended up moving. Just in general, I moved back home, living with my mama. And once I got home to my mom, I can't remember how long of the duration that I've been home, but I used to always say a lot of things without really producing. So this particular time, I was having a conversation with my mama, and I was like, listen, I am about to find a place because I want to move. I want my own. And my mom was like, Ashley, all you do is talk. You don't ever do nothing. Bet. So it lit a fire under me, y'all, to where I wasn't even doing my job. All I was looking for is places to stay. Cause I was just like, who is she? Shrey? Who is you playing with? Cause baby, I'm going. And don't look for me, major. But anyways, I initially found a place, but me and this person could not get up together to for me to view the place. But I kept looking, and this particular day, I mean, I was searching every day, never saw the place that I'm currently staying in. And I just happened to look on it one day, and I was like, this deposit kind of high, y'all tripping on the deposit, but that's cool. But I can do this rent because I already had tell the Lord what I wanted and how I could operate by myself at that time. Because like I said, I had a moment where, and I don't know if nobody ever experienced this, and this is the importance of knowing who you are versus just operating in titles and roles, because they don't satisfy the inner you. There's going to come a point when you sit in that darkened silence with how they say God knows the real you behind closed doors, not just the operating you when you out there pretending and forming for everybody. Y'all, I had a moment where I felt in 2019, I had an out-of-body experience. I felt myself dying. I was so much operating in survival and autoplay mode. I felt myself dying, and I was like, bro, ain't nobody gonna take care of my kids like how I take care of my kids. Now granted, that ain't true, but I believe that, and I did. I believe that. So I was like, listen, Ashley, I just needed a whole new environment. I just needed a whole fresh start. I did. And that's what I got. The Lord blessed me with the place that I had. And I was thankful for him. I definitely was. And it was my fresh start until, that's how my third baby got here. But my kid's father got in an accident. So me being the person that I am, if you know me, and like I said, at the end of the day, I was still also, even though I was evolving as a person, I always desired that family, because I didn't grow up in a household with a mother and a father, even though my mama did a stellar job at raising not only me but my brothers. So I was like, you know what, I can make that sacrifice, heal them, because I'm big about kids does not listen to what you say, but they watch your actions. So I was just like, if we can provide that healthy environment, and at that time, I didn't even know what healthy was. I'm learning more, but I didn't even really know what healthy was, but I knew I wanted to provide them what I did not have. So I was willing once again to compromise. And that's because I wasn't sure of who I was. I started the healing journey. Guess what? But then backpedaled. I moved 10 steps up, but then took 20 back. So, and that's why I had my baby girl. And initially when I found out I was, because I went on when I really first started my journey, reading the Bible. Really, I'm talking about waking up 4 and 5 in the morning, praying, and just, doing what I need to do to be a good old Christian. But I also had a desire need. Because once you done taste the grits, sometimes you want to dip, hallelujah, back in the pot. So, I mean, and when you got the rest of your house, when you got the buffet standing in front of you, why not eat, baby? So, baby, I ate. Okay. But I mean, honestly, when I did, let me tell you, being transparent with y'all. So even though my kid's husband, I had let him back in my house, and this is being so transparent, y'all. When I went on my journey, like, I asked him, like, hey, are you willing to put on a condom? Because I really don't want no more kids. And let's play it safe, you know what I mean? And like I said, we just had a lot of complications, even though we were in the same household. But we got along. But yeah, I'm telling you. And one thing I do like, that, he was an individual other than me just kind of speaking my truth. Now, privacy was our thing. You would never know what we got going on, the status of how we doing, because we both understood the importance of each other image, if that makes sense. So yeah, but at that goes back to, and I wouldn't even say people pleasing, because I don't have to be boastful and loud, but I'm also pretending and performing to compromise for somebody else, because I suppressed my feelings. And it came through years of what I've been through, depleting my self-esteem, worth. I don't even know what that was. I mean, at that point. And I'm articulating all this, but no, I definitely had my sunshine days. Like, it wasn't all bad. I definitely want to put that out there. No, it absolutely, every day wasn't like Sunday, but no, we definitely have memorable moments. We most definitely had memorable moments. And I want to put that out there. But I'm just speaking my truth as far as it comes to identity. And I did feel as if I lost my voice. I had no drive. There was no excitement. The little girl in me was screaming for help. But no one noticed me. The inner me wanted some. You ever been to church and you just like, pick me, I need you to prophesy to me, I needed encouragement. But God understood that I needed to go alone on that journey, because God only wanted me to lean on him, depend on him, allow him to be my only source that I pull from. And like when I had activation, and it makes me think about activation Saturday that I had with LaShawn, where they say, where does your power source come from? God. And I also learned too, when moving out of my mom's house, God showed me a period where I was so codependent on her. And it's not more so kind of like financially thing. It's just kind of like, if she does it, oh, it's right. There's nothing wrong about what she does, because like I said, she was my role model. My identity was connected to her. My identity was connected to things. My identity, I imparted that in people because I had no voice, because I suppressed it, the real me. And even trying to figure out that's what the enemy wanted me. When I told you he worked overtime, because there's true power, and we learned this in Activation Saturday. There is true power when you're able to identify and operate once you've identified who you are as a person. And that's the ultimate goal. The enemy does not want you to see yourself the way that God sees you. So he is going to work overtime. Just like with me even coming out and doing this. I've been so overwhelmed. I've had so much going on. But I told myself, I'm going to sit myself down. I'm going to sit myself down and I'm going to make this video. And how it comes out is how it comes out, because I have to, even when I don't want to do it, show up for myself. And that's what I'm doing today in the most pure and transparent form, is showing up for me, showing up for killing the silence, showing up for the voice of the voiceless. And that's why I can always say I am the voice for the voiceless, because I know how it feels to be screaming internally and nobody understands, or nobody can hear you. Nobody can even pick up that you're going through what you're going through. Nobody. And that's why I say I no longer want to be the strong friend. I no longer want to pour into individuals who don't want to pour into me, or who don't have the capacity to pour into me. No, absolutely not. But y'all, when I got back to the story, when I got pregnant with my baby girl, and I already, because we had the pandemic, started my journey. Not so much, and I did, like I said, started my journey during the pandemic, don't get me wrong, but I also had a period, and I'm gonna be transparent with y'all, because during the pandemic we was sitting down, baby, they didn't know what was going on. I had a period to where I was even a smoker. Like, my mind was running all over the place, baby. I smoking. I started to pick up habits and things that wasn't me, because I didn't know who I was. And that's the importance of knowing your identity. That's the importance of knowing who you are and taking the time to sit with yourself. And I need to, just if I could read, identity is the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. I didn't know. I was so connected to so much worldly things. I was so connected to pretending and performing, like I tell y'all. What? Ain't nobody ever teach me this. I can be my own self. I can be my own individual. But it took God sending me through a season of separation. Once I gathered and I got myself together, because like I said, even with being a smoker, he allowed me to have my fun until he was like, all right, you running out type of thing. And child, y'all, baby, the loud was too loud, because I went to the emergency room. Hi, app, going to the emergency room. Now, I need to be smoking nobody's stuff in the emergency room. But the doctor was so nice and talked. He talked to me. So it was cool. Your girl made it. But during that time I was pregnant, it was the first time I began to level me with my baby girl. Once I found that she was a girl, it was the first time I began to level me. It was the first time I really started to be intentional about starting. Not so much of doing the heavy work, but starting to be intentional about healing the inner me. Healing the inner me. Figuring out who Ashley is. What do I really like versus what I've been compromising for? You ever ask yourself that? What do you really like versus you? I mean, like, even now when it comes to like my style and different things, like, I just want a whole new look. And I'm still playing with that and still figuring that, because I feel like each level of involvement, there's an alteration and change. And I'm embracing that. I'm embracing walking this journey of getting to the new version of me. I am. I really am. So during my baby girl, with just knowing and having a girl, it took me, honestly, y'all, to where I used to match energy till I stopped that. I went through this period, and for those individuals who know me, I told myself for 30 days straight, I was going to encourage other individuals. And y'all, who ever been on my low text messages, I was going to encourage individuals. I became encouraging. I just wanted to be a walking ray shine of just positivity. I no longer wanted to be altered because you had a negative attitude. Like, I wasn't going to allow anybody to move me. And that's where I was. Because I said, in the midst of that, I loved by affirmation, the importance of reading and just there is so much power, y'all, in educating yourself. And not just reading, but comprehension in far as what you're reading. And applying the knowledge. So as I continue that journey and just walking and being that individual I was, and just truly just healing and just loving on self, there was a point to where I said, oh my God, this tastes so good. Peace tastes so good. I mean, tastes so good. And I started to ask myself, who are you? Especially when I got asked that question when I went to a social work conference in Dallas. Was like, if you could disconnect yourself from your titles and roles, who are you as a person? And I could not answer that question, because even though I was doing the work, I never really wrote down or articulated. That's why I said I started, but I wasn't really implementing it as heavy as I needed to. So I just started, because at the end of the day, outside, I'm an extrovert person. But once I got across that threshold of my house, baby, introvert, leave me alone, don't talk to me. We ain't got nothing to discuss, type of thing. But I do like to have fun. But no, I'm a really chill person. I enjoy stillness. I had to learn how to really calm my mind. Because like I said, the enemy was working overtime, especially with me working at the Department of Social Services. I just used to take on, just my field in general, taking on so much people problems. So I had to learn how to calm my mind. I had to learn emotional regulation. And that's where all that, I had to get positive. I had to exude that. I had to exemplify that. I had to walk in that daily. I had to. And it was also, too, I was fighting back for my voice. I was fighting back for my voice. So even though I showed up when I started my YouTube, I was fighting back for my voice. You know how hard it is to be vulnerable and expose yourself. But you know the importance of what comes behind that, because what God has told you. So yeah. So when it comes to navigating the identity and just having courage, it's all about, honestly, having the ability to be vulnerable, having the ability to have a season of isolation to where you can truly allow God to speak to you. Speak to you to allow you to see the person that He knows that you can be. Allow God to manifest those characteristics for you to be like Him. Knowing that there is so much power in once you identify that person, knowing that you are uniquely made, knowing that nobody else's opinion matters but God, knowing the importance of you don't, if you ever have to pretend or perform for the comfort of others, that's an environment you don't need to be in. Stop operating in your roles, especially mothers, because I've been there. Being a mother is a role. It's not your identity. Having my bachelor's and master's degree or being a therapist is a role. It's not my identity. It is not my identity. Because if I die today or tomorrow, that job gonna replace me. And they are, if I don't quit. If I don't quit. But yes, understand it and taking some time to figure out what's your core value, what you value. Because like how they say, so what you think, you shall manifest. You definitely shall manifest. And I just encourage you guys to really dig deep. Ask yourself questions that you know is uncomfortable. You're scared to ask. Be true to your feelings. Try, if you're responding a certain way to certain situations, try responding different. Because that would also help. Because I'm telling you, you got to snatch back your power. You got to, you got a bucket of power and ain't none living. Ain't none living. Snatch back your power. And even though you may feel depleted, because I've been there. I tell y'all, I've been depressed. I've been homicidal. It is possible. But in order to do that, like they said, it sounds so cliche, but you gotta continue to keep walking. You got to continue to keep walking. Like I said, I'm showing up, but sitting in this space today has been hard for me to get to. I had so many things going on. And I keep making excuses as to why I could not sit to make this video or to start. But I told myself today, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to talk. I'm going to deliver it however it comes out. Because if I don't do it, who will? And I'm the type of person, and I tell the Lord, what you impart in me, I absolutely do not want it to go void. And at the end of the day, God will still get what He need to get out. And if He told me He wanted to use me to do it, it might take me a little while. It might take me a little while. I'm just being transparent, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Because the more I do it, and that's why I say it don't have to be perfect. Don't allow people to think that you got to show up a certain way. No, baby. We're transitioning from surviving to living. No longer are we surviving. but we want to live. And however that looks like for you is how it looks like for you. And that you gotta write, like people say, and the more you work on you, you understand the importance of writing your own story. Don't allow what you've been through to cripple you, but motivate you, empower you. Just allow it to allow you to dig a little deeper. All right. And take accountability for what you need to take accountability for. Do it. Absolutely. But when it comes to me currently, as I go to end this, where I am at as an individual, as far as my identity, my name is Ashley. I am a daughter of the Most High. You hear me? I am a daughter of the Most High. Like I said, I am extrovert. But once I cross the threshold of my home, I am an introvert. I am very observant, very observant. And this is just me talking about my identity, just to give you an example. I love hard, but the older I get, I understand the importance of loving me. For a long time, I've never understand that there is so much power in pouring and loving and taking care of me. I love to be positive and have high energy. But like LaShawn said, and I'm moving it too, that I also understand that I don't have to be the loudest in the room. But yet when I walk in, just my presence alone, I can even inspire you or intimidate you. I love stillness and being mindfulness, which is the same in one. And just being intentional about living in the moment. I definitely am intentional about living in the present moment. And I don't know, that's something that's what has helped me. And I'll tell you, sometimes in order for me to kind of clear my mind and get through that, just kind of my mind all over the place, it was definitely living in the present moment. So when I felt myself mentally being overwhelmed, I would stop. That's where the stillness come in. And I would start identifying things that I was seeing at that time. Like, oh, look at that bird in the tree. And then I know it sounds so stupid. It's simple, but it helped me. It really helped me to be present within that moment and start worrying about things that I could not control. Baby, because I was a control freak. Okay, there goes that accountability. That is accountability. But I was a control freak. You hear me? I'm very competitive. I'm very strong-minded. I'm non-judgmental. I'm both empathetic, sympathetic, and compassionate. I'm definitely empathetic, sympathetic, and compassionate. I'm caring, and I'm most definitely resourceful. Very resourceful. And most of all, I have a heart that seeks to know my Heavenly Father. I value my time. Yes, I love iced coffee, particularly from Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, and I love Mexican. Well, I just love that little burrito. But yeah, as far as like my identity, who I am, and just who I am as a person. Yeah, because I mean, if you had asked me a question, it would just take me a moment. And just how the girl presented it to me when I've been in Dallas. Before you took on those titles and roles, who were you prior to that? Like I said, identifying your core values. You're still that individual. You're still that individual before you got all those things, what we call stressors on our life. Even when it comes to them children, baby, they're stressful. And is. So who was that person? Because at the end of the day, it's not as if you can't still value those things that was valuable to you, but you've just suppressed them. So whatever your self-care look like, whatever it is that you've been suppressing, but you know you need to pull back out, do it. Give yourself permission to love on you. Love and cherish you, because you are uniquely made. There's not another you. You matter. If you've never heard that before, you matter. I don't even got to know you. I love you. I love you. For this is the beginning of the battle, but we will win the war. Because let me tell you, just like the enemy wanted me, and the more I grow, the enemy is going to continue to try to stop what God has ordained. But guess what? He ain't gonna win. He ain't gonna win with me, and he darn sure ain't gonna win with you. Because I understand that I am not average. I understand that I've been chosen to break the generational curses that is on my lineage. And I will not stop for anything to produce what God has imparted in me. So like I say, this is the beginning of the battle, but we collectively will win the war. Because if we can name it, you best believe we can tame it. And we're no longer praying without process. So you take care. And if you have not heard it today, I love you. And you matter.
Killing the silence in the black community. Killing